Yo, what is up, YouTube? Finally got a voiceless voice deck together here. Wanted to run through some gameplays here in Master. Was playing the deck from Master 5 up to about Master 3 or so, just messing around before the end of the season. And was playing with two different lists. So gonna just quickly go through both of them, and then we'll hop right into some of the replays. I think I have about 5 or so to look at. But yeah, so we've got just a couple shout outs for tech choices. This was the first variation I was running, and this is probably my favorite version of it. This one's more going first heavy, and just you can get some disgusting boards together, but a little bit weaker going second. Still okay going second depending on the hand you draw, but overall way stronger going first. This is running, the Pendulum Graph. It's running Nadir Servant with the Maximus package. And along with the Pendulum Graph, it's obviously running the Meteor Burst Dragon. And then I'm running triple Veiler, and then running Called By and Crossout. This is debatable. You could swap this out for, a couple other things or anything like that, because this deck doesn't really have a hard time into Max C. But this version I'm running it, and then this version I'm not, and then this is instead running, triple Effect Veiler, triple Super Poly, triple Imperm, running the Super Poly targets. And then this one's running, triple Effect Veiler also. So this one is way stronger going second versus the first one, but it's very consistent loops. Like, a lot of the times you'll basically end up with just a simple board where you just have Skull Guardian with your low on the board, and then you have a lot of your Effect Veilers, your Imperms, your Super Polys, things like that to disrupt or board break. But more often than not, a lot of the times too, you kind of just lose. Like, you have three of your hand traps and board breakers, and then your only route is like you need Saphira to resolve, so just keep that in mind with this one. Not much else you can do other than just really trying to, dependent on the hand. Like, if you have a good going first hand, you're going to set up a lot of control, and then with your other non-engine cards, that's stuff that just interrupts people's ability to play the game anyways. But yeah, so here is the two versions I was running. Like I said, this one, you can put up some more interesting boards with it. Both of them, however, most of the time you're hardly ever using the extra deck. It's there just for like a utility set. But yeah, so we'll jump straight into some of the replays here, and then we'll kind of break them down from there. Perfect. So rolling into the gameplay number 1 here, we have a pretty interesting one. This is one of the few where I actually won and went first. And then this is one of the ones where I'm running the Nadir Servant package. So we're going to open up with pre-prep. Pre-prep's going to search for a Prayers and then a Skull Guardian. I'm then going to use Saphira to then pitch a Prayers and then search for Sarvis. We're then going to use the Saphira effect in the graveyard to Ritual. This is going to get Gamma'd, excuse me. And then so Gamma's going to really put a damper on our first plan, but we still have the Prayers in hand that we search for off the pre-prep. We're going to use the Maximus to pitch for the Skull Guardian fodder. This is then going to let us use a search here. We're going to grab low from the deck, normal summon the low, and then this is going to set up our barrier. Barrier is going to search for Blessing. Blessing is then going to be set up and add Saphira back to hand for follow-up. And then now I can use the Nadir Servant to pitch a Garura, add Maximus back to hand. This is going to let me draw another one, second Effect Veiler, so that's always helpful. And then boom, we're going to get the Maximus out on the field. I'm going to then Ritual for Sarvis to come out, because I'm already protected from targeting. So no need to keep it in the hand, and then I'm going to use the Maximus effect to pitch 2, and off of that, I pitch the Entis, and then I pitch the Herald. The other option for pitching here, I'm not running it in this one. I'm actually running a Baron because sometimes you can get Baron out cheekily enough. But or no, I am running it in this one too, the Ferrigide. So another option would have been to pitch Ferrigide, and you would have had a draw 1 shuffle back. But instead, I decided to pop and try to just get Entis out there. It's trying to see if he had any other type of effects or anything, but there was really no purpose to it, to be honest. And so now we end the turn, we pass. He is using a Snake Eyes deck, I think, or Fire King Snake Eyes, I can't remember, but gets Black Witch out. I'm going to just negate the summon with Sarvis, bounce it back to hand, normal summons the Poplar. I'm going to Effect Veiler Poplar just to stop, because now I know he's only got 2 cards in hand, and if he has Original Sin, we just don't want him to get more recursion. And I'm going to then bring out a Pendulum Graph at that point, but he went ahead and scooped. But yeah, so that was probably the last extender he had in hand. When Snake Eyes get low in how many cards they have in their hand, and they've already used 2 of their main like combo routes, it's pretty much like you're playing the hand trap game at that point. You know, a lot of them run 90% hand traps. He has no normal summon. Only thing he can have is Original Sin already. And if he has Original Sin and uses it at that point, or like, Bonfire, Search Poplar, Poplar normal special summon, he's just in choke points. So not much else you can really do. But perfect. We will go ahead and jump into the next one here. All right, moving into game number 2. This one is going to be pretty interesting. It goes a little bit longer. They won the coin flip, chose to go first. I have double Max C, Effect Veiler, and then Super Poly in hand with a Blessing. So this is exactly what I was talking about with, this is the Super Poly variation of the deck. So imagine if I won the coin flip and was going first. You don't set up a board. You set Super Poly, you Max C the guy, and then you hope Effect Veiler is going to help carry. But yeah, so this is what I was talking about, whereas this one's a little bit better going second. So I'm going to Effect Veiler the Black Witch, and then I'm going to chain Max C. So at this point, if he normal summons, he's going to have to commit any type of special. Poplar's going into the back row, and then he doesn't get the free setup. He's going to set 1 pass. So now we're really hoping to draw something playable, and we top deck Saphira, which is wonderful in this situation. So we're gonna use Saphira. We're gonna set up Blessing. He chains Max C, so then I'm going to set up Saphira, get Skull Guardian into rotation, use this to add Saphira back to hand, and then I'm gonna set Super Poly pass. So right now, it's really just kind of banking on whatever he's going to draw, and I'm going to Max C, go straight to battle phase, and then beats over, which I'm fine with, giving me another turn here. Whatever we top deck's going to be important. We got to Trias, so this is going to be usable now. So then we're going to pitch the other prayer, search for Sarvis, set up a target protection basically, and then use Saphira, pitch the Trias for the ritual material, and then this lets us ritual summon into the Skull Guardian. Skull Guardian comes out, searches for low. We haven't normal summoned yet. I'm going to add the prayers back to hand. I'm going to normal summon low. Then I'm going to chain right here just because I feel like it, and I've noticed that he has no other real abilities that I care about. So we bring out the Sarvis. Sarvis comes out for more damage on the board. We set up the the Blessing, and then low comes back for free. We beat over. I'm going to negate this because I just wanted to get more damage. I am chancing this being an evenly matched on the board, but at this point it doesn't really matter. It isn't evenly matched, so I was a little bit sad about it, but who cares? We still have an Omni negate up. This guy's been pretty bricked. He then uses 1 for 1, pitches another gamma, and then looks like I'm just going to negate that. Perfect. And then that is it. So, you know, safer play would have been to just let the Black Witch come back, attack into the Black Witch the second time. He has more LP going into the next turn, but when he then evenly matches me, I can just easily negate it. We move forward, and then it would have been the same situation on the following turn. I had an Omni negate live, Omni negate his 1 for 1. He has no other follow up from that point. But the only end difference would have been I would have had my whole board still. But yeah, perfect. We'll go ahead and jump into the next one here. Moving straight into game number 3. And game number 3 is going to be a little bit of a shorter one. I think this one might be one where I go first. Or no, they won to go first as well. To be honest with you, most of that climb from Master 5 to Master 3, I went second way more often than I went first, and I was playing the super poly version better. So I decided to just Ash Reasoning because I'm not trying to deal with the reasoning decks right now where they mill any number of anything. Looks like it is a Naturia Runic deck that is running Reasoning. So that kind of threw me for a loop, but we chained the Maxi, he chains the Hugin summon. Hugin's gonna discard one. I draw off the Camellia coming out. Camellia's gonna pitch, and then he pitches for the Fountain. So there we go. Fountain goes to hand. So 1 unknown, Fountain in hand. Searches for the Blessing, and then sets 1 back row. So I'm assuming it's Blessing that was set, and he kept the Fountain in hand. And then right now I'm going to start with Barrier Search Blessing, Blessing Setup. I'm going to normal summon Diviner. This is going to cause the Camellia to proc. Camellia is going to bring back the Mole Cricket. And then right here, he chains Mole Cricket and is going straight into what I would assume is trying to get a Sunflower out on the board. So I'm just going to Ash it. And then now he's just kind of stuck, has no more extension. All he can really do is reborn something with a Blessing. So I'm going to use Saphira Pitch, search for Skull Guardian, have my 2 rituals in hand. Going to use Saphira Effect, use the full low to go right into our Skull Guardian. Low is going to reborn itself, and I'm going to search with Skull Guardian. Right here, low comes out. Perfect. We search for our Dragon Sage, and then we go ahead and chain link 1 low, chain link 2 Blessing. I'm going to pitch the Dragon Sage, and then we're just going to bring out the Sarvis. This is here just so that I can negate a summon if needed, and then we are going to add a Saphira back to hand, and we set up the trap in the back row. I go for a pop 2, popping the Hugin and the Blessing. I beat over the Camellia, and then I just get some damage in, 4,600, and he's down to 34. So now this is going to go into draw phase. He's not going to have really much he can do. Sets up, looks like it was 2 Runics that he had in hand. So I'm just going to pop the Flashing Fire, and he is going to chain summon a Hugin. I think because this counts as a activation negate. Let me look. Dang, okay, right at the end there. Sorry. But basically, I think the reason why the Hugin didn't save it was because Skull Guardian counts as an activation negate, maybe? Yes, yeah. So when your opponent activates a card or an effect while you control low, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So basically, if it was like I was target popping, let's say, like a target pop, I'm pretty sure that the Hugin would have used its effect to save it. But because the activation was getting negated, let's see here. If another card you control would be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish this card that you control instead. Yeah. So basically, it doesn't count as him controlling the card yet, right? So he doesn't control the card, he's activating it. I negated the activation, and because I negated it, if you do, you destroy. So we destroyed it, and that bypasses the Hugin summon. So that he was really hoping that he was gonna get this Hugin effect, save, and then get a draw from it, but, luckily the Skull Guardian's a good counter to Runic. But yeah, so we will go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, moving into game number 4. And game number 4, I believe, is another shorter one. Let's see if it's finally one where I'm going first at all. Nope, looks like they're going first. And looks like a decent hand here. We got the Pot of Prospe, we got double Effect Veiler, we got a Saphira, and a Barrier. So that's the type of hand that you like to see going second. I'm going to right away chain the Effect Veiler to the Samsara before it can use its effect, and then he sets 2 back row pass. So we got an imperm, and then we set up the barrier. We're going to search for low. I'm then going to use Saphira to pitch and search for Skull Guardian. I'm now going to use Saphira effect, bring Skull Guardian straight out using the low as the ritual material, and Skull Guardian is going to hit the field. So the problem with this is I get hit by a targeting effect, so we can't get protection that way, but that's okay. So we'll eat the imperm. Imperm is going to stop my guy from searching for another card. Low comes out. Low still has a chance to set up a back row for us. And then right here, we're going to set up a blessing. We're now untargetable, and his stuff was still activatable, so I was betting it's a super poly. So I just go straight for Dynamundo, and then I use Dynamundo to shuffle it back, and then he scoops right away. So I guess my thought process of it being a super poly was correct. And reason why I went into Dynamundo at that point was because he kept saying no. Like I think he was hoping I was going to go into battle phase and waste my battle phase, and then he would super poly me. But because I was feeling those trigger effects, I go into Dynamundo, shuffle back. I have Effect Veiler Imperm. I could have Pot of Prospeed too, to just at that point search for more follow up or interruption for the following turn. And then I know he just has a Lotus. Early on, I can negate the Lotus. Whatever else is in his hand, he's just kind of stuck with whatever he's hard drawing. So I felt like the Dynamundo shuffle back play was the smartest move, and it paid off. Okay. And then game number 5 here. This one's a wild one, and I kept this one in specifically because I wanted to show, um, you know, it's not all rainbows with this deck. So as you've seen, almost all these ones, I'm going second, right? So I kept getting up to Master 4 rank up game, and then I would go on a streak of just losing coin flips. And sometimes I would go backwards almost to the point of D ranking, but then I would go back on an easy win streak again. And this one, I was going backwards, going backwards. I'm on a lose to D rank game to go back to Master 5. And this is the game that started a win streak that got me into Master 3. And so lost the coin flip on a D rank game. Mental's in the trash. I have double imper max C, so that kind of helped me. And so we're going to max C in draw phase. It does resolve, but then he just passes on an empty board. He's hoping I'm bricked out of my mind. We top deck a low. So right away, I'm going to use the blessing, and then I'm going to pitch Saphira. Saphira gets Ash Blossomed, which I'm okay with because at this point, it's in the simplified game state. Not much I'm going to try to OTK through. He goes ahead and Effect Veilers me, so that's going to stop me as well. And then I'm just going to set these two like this, and then I'm going to use this to add a Saphira back to hand, change the low out for a Linkaribo, trying to just stall out battle phase next turn, and then set up 2, and then I actually decided to just change it into Secure Gardna and then go for 1k poke damage. So trying to poke with the Secure Gardna, and then I have double imperm in the back row follow up. So right now it is a Snake Eyes Divine Temple gets set up. Then he goes right into a Fire King Island. Fire King Island pop a Effect Veiler, so we know that's not going to do anything. So I'm just going to imperm the Hooked on Ponix, baby. So Hooked on Ponix is getting hit with the imperm. Not much he can really do at that point, and he just sets another back row. So now this is where my recursion I was hoping for is going to come into play. I'm going to use the barrier. This ends up getting imperm, so that stops me adding the low back to hand. So now we're kind of in the same situation. I'm not going to have enough fodder to ritual, so I'm just going to do this to get him into my hand so that I can use the blessing. I keep calling it prayer, I think, but blessing is going to have an effect on his turn here. This is what I'm hoping for. So I max C, depends on what he drew. Obviously, I forgot that, Ponix comes back anyways, so it doesn't matter what he drew. So at this point, I'm just going to imperm this because I'm hoping to kind of keep him stuck off of whatever he, off of his just Garunix into Kieran line. And then I start remembering, I think I have, or no, I have no Ash, so can't use a Hita line on me. And he's going to have to commit to the max C. At this point, I'm like, okay, turn 5 committing for max C. He's probably just going to go for the quickest lethal possible, which he doesn't end up going for. So he just searches OSS, uses OSS to pitch one in the back row, goes for Oak. Oak brings back another one, and then right here we are looking at 6700. So he's going to use Oak effect, go into Flamberge, and then Flamberge on the board. He's at 8,300 lethal. At this point, I decide, oh my god, we top deck a Trias, right? So I was hovering the surrender button because I know he's got 8,300. The draw comes through, it's a Trias. So now Blessing can be procced. I proc Blessing to get Skull Guardian out onto the field. Skull Guardian hits the field. This is going to bring low out from the graveyard. Skull Guardian's also going to search for a card. Sad thing is I drew my Radiance, so I can't put Radiance up on the board. But we're going to set up the Blessing. I'm now untargetable. He can't push me backwards. So we force out. He goes into a Huang, baby. Huanging me. And then right now, I have to negate the Huang. And the sad news is that he's just going to get 2 big bodies back on the field from it. So that was kind of like a force on my Omni negate. And then now he's going to have to go for the Zealantis OTK, which we know is coming. It's the easiest OTK in the game to pull off. So here we go. I keep drawing. He is hitting the Promethean effect, sets up Flamberge. I'm still untargetable, so he can't use Flamberge. And then he is going to use these two to go up into the Raging Phoenix. Raging Phoenix, beautiful animation, touches the board. I draw a low, and then this goes into the Zealantis. And then now, boom, I draw another Super Poly, third Super Poly. Zealantis effect hits. So then we get Zealantis on board. My guys are coming back face down. And all of this counts as one special summon. So you get one card, and I top deck an Effect Veiler. An Effect Veiler. I haven't seen one of my Effect Veilers the entire game. I finally get it. And then here we go. He's popping. I use my prayers in the graveyard. And then I tribute the low for a Ling Karibu and Karibu, our boy Karibu. And then I chain the Effect Mailer to Zealantis, and then this causes the scoop, man. So basically what happened there was I'm getting Ling Karibo out on the board, so that's one attack is gone entirely. Effect Veiler stops the pop effect from the co-linked the Raging Phoenix comes out off of the Promethean popping the Flamberge, and then we have Promethean linked to the Zealantis, and then that's going to be his pops in battle phase, and I'm stopping that effect from happening. So now he can't pop my board. He has to try to beat over my Link Karibo, so he loses one of his attacks. He loses another one going into the defense mode Skull Guardian, and then he can only hit me with one monster. He loses the OTK at that point, and I have, you know, endless amounts of cards in my hand to just beat him on the following turn. But yeah, so that was a wild, close to D ranking game, and then that kind of started the snowball effect of me getting back up and then ranking up going into Master 3. But yeah, so that was that. Let me hop back into the deck list so you guys can see the ratios one more time, and we'll do some last final thoughts. All right. So yet again, thank you anyone who made it this deep into the video. I know this one's probably super long and tons of rambling, but I wanted to just get more gameplays in there for you guys to see. I know there's tons of videos and lists out there and things like that for Voiceless Voice. This honestly is one of my favorite archetypes. It's super expensive, but the control games are unreal. And if anybody's been paying attention to my channel at all for the past couple months since I've been posting, I've always been a big control game player. You know, I honestly haven't done a video on it in a long time, but my other like top most played deck that I constantly was getting into Master for a long time with was Vanquish Soul. So I love games like this where, you know, you can play one or two special summons. Even if Maxi resolves, you don't really care about it because you're going to set up recursion, you're going to set up protection, you're going to set up plays on their turn, you're going to control their game. So to me, it's one of those wonderful types of decks that fits my play style. So I didn't care too much about committing the UR cost. At that point, I just kind of just slowly got it together. The main issue was like I got rid of my diviner copies a long time ago because I wasn't playing any ritual decks, and so I had to recoup the diviner copies, and then I had to obviously gain triple, double, and then, you know, people either do or don't have these as well, you know, so that's one thing to shout out. Obviously this version of the deck here is going to be better at board breaking, better going second, tighter loops. You don't have pendulum graph, you don't have, you know, all these like quirky plays, but this is going to counter the meta a little bit harder. And then on top of that, you know, you don't have the pendulum graph that you're getting another UR involved. Most people already have 3 copies of all these URs. So really you're just looking at the engine. You're looking at triple barrier, triple Saphira, triple low, and then, you know, 2 Skull Guardian are the Voiceless Voice cards, and then out of it but are still part of the engine are going to be 1 Savaris and then triple Diviner. Still expensive as heck. So I'm not shouting out, please guys, build this deck, it's going to carry you to Master. As you guys can see, I have many different lists, many different times I've been to Master with any one of these decks. So I mean, it's you can play anything, man. You can play PK Horus, man, Phantom Knight Horus, you could get to Master. It's just all about, you know, grinding and the ability to understand how to interact with your opponent. But yeah, so that is that, guys. I just wanted to go through the Voiceless Voice run throughs. I might get some more montages together, you know, playing with these decks. I played a lot with the Super Poly variations, so I think I'm going to change back to this one and just try to see a kind of a little bit better feel of how it gets me past Master 3 if I can at all today before the reset. But yeah, other than that, we will see you guys on the next one. I am going to be probably just doing some videos here of me just playing the decks that I feel like climbing on the start of the new season for season 33. So it might be some rehashes of some ones that I've done before, but there'll probably be some music video montages. No need for me to kind of do a voiceover breakdown when it's stuff that you guys have already seen me do combos with. But yeah, so thank you so much, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Artificial love, we just make it up, 'cause reality will never be good enough. And even if it were mess it up. 'Cause we already